Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to look at Radical America Comics. Now this is a very interesting underground because it says here, Volume 3, Number 1 of Radical America in STS Magazine of American Radicalism. This was the only underground comic issue of Radical America. They had many issues going up until, the 2000s, the 1990s. And the STS was the Students for a Democratic Society, who pretty much late in the 60s became hardcore, hardline communists, like pro-Mao Zedong type communists, not just like socialists like Bernie Sanders or something like that. But they decided to make this comic issue because the editor of this magazine, Paul Buell, he saw the first issue of Feds and Heads by Gilbert Shelton. So this is one of the first of the first dozen underground comics that came out. This is one of them. This is a very early underground. And basically just like Yellow Dog, some Zaps had come out, some Yellow Dogs, whatever, God knows. Not many underground comics had come out before this. Really nice cover by Gilbert Shelton. He does a lot in this magazine. And this is Lester Maddox, the segregationist, shitty governor of, I believe, Alabama or Georgia. And this is a reference to his, even after they passed the civil rights law, he still refused to let blacks into his restaurant. He owned a restaurant. So, really sharp cover. I love the logo. And a little tribute to Mad Magazine here. So this came out in 1969, or at least this edition did. So it's kind of interesting. All the big underground artists are in here, but they're very young. So a lot of their stuff looks very different than you know them, the way you know them. For example, this inside front cover, Black Icarus by Skip Williamson. And here's a little self-portrait. And it looks very different than his cartooning would evolve to. This one's kind of, and also serious, because usually Skip Williamson, snappy Sammy Smoot, he was kind of just old-timey gag cartoons, that kind of humor. But this is almost like a weird poem and just drawing random weird images. This is the kind of purple prose he uses. During an Abyssinian winter time, Chief Keokuk, present at the conception, demands his personal revenge. And it's just that kind of weird, almost stream of consciousness poetry. But yeah, really interesting. This is like one of the earliest Skip Williamson strips. So we have a nice title page here. Once again, drawn by, actually guys, I think this is Gilbert Shelton. Let me check. I marked the website, Comics Joint, to get the info. Wait a second. Oh my God, I'm so wrong. This is Rick Griffin. Wow. So obviously very early Rick Griffin. That is very interesting. I'm glad I looked that up. Wow. And this is kind of funny because he's almost mocking the STS, because the STS had a split. And, there was the kids who were just like, yeah, we want better social systems in America, kind of liberal. But then there was then there was the hardcore side who were like chanting Mao Zedong and stuff and reading Mao's Little Red Book. So this is kind of making fun of just how silly the whole thing is. Like these two parties that they have are basically the same words, just mixed around, and they're at each other's throats. Really nice logo. And this is a really good Gilbert Shelton story. He puts a lot of work into this. True battle story, smiling Sergeant Death and his merciless mayhem patrol. So it's kind of like Sergeant Fury. He's got a colorful group of combatants in his platoon, or whatever you call it, his squad. And patrol, I guess. And a lot of them are like just total racial stereotypes. Iggy Schwartz, Manuel Lopez, Watermelon Jones, Michael O'Rafferty, the midget. It's just, this stuff wouldn't fly today. It's pretty funny, though, and it's pretty fucking beautifully drawn. Once again, look at Gilbert Shelton's, he got some good speed that night. That's insane. That cross-hatching and little ink work and just for the lawn around the Pentagon. So it looks like a general calls Sergeant Death, and he gives him a mission. Look at this face right there. Very un-Gilbert Shelton. Like, it's almost like he's drawing realistic. Really nice. But look at all the great shading in this comic. This is, this is a labor of love, this work. And look at this interesting little, kind of almost like poster art. I would never guess that was Gilbert Shelton. So back at the barracks, we see the Death Patrol, or whatever they're called, all horsing around. And lots of ethnic humor in here. And they head off to China. So this is the mission. They have to stop the intercontinental missile sites that are in China, aimed at America. They could take out all of America with these missiles. So Sergeant Death tells them the whole plan. And the plan seems pretty amazing. And of course, when he's talking about the plan, everything goes off without a hitch. But as soon as the invasion starts, as soon as they land in China, everything goes wrong. Nothing goes like they thought it would. They're getting killed left and right. And so pretty much after just a page or two, or it's just basically Sergeant Death's the only one left. I really love this panel where Sergeant Death, this is the O'Rafferty, the little person. He puts on a jetpack but doesn't know how to fly it, so it just goes whoosh, boom. He crash lands. Really nice panel. And then Watermelon Jones refuses to use the jetpack. And then he tries to kill Sergeant Death. I wasn't quite sure why. And then it's just Sergeant Death left. And then he prays. He says it's time to call on Wonder Warthog. And all of a sudden, we realize we're in a Wonder Warthog story. I totally forgot the story. I read this a little while back, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a Wonder Warthog story. Even though it's like 6 pages before he's even mentioned. So Sergeant Death is surrounded by the Chinese communists, but he does get this call in, and Philbert Destinex is at his desk at the newspaper where he works. And so he turns into Wonder Warthog. He flies off to China. He rescues Sergeant Death, and he takes the plutonium from the atomic missiles and returns it to Pluto, where it belongs. Of course, that's where all plutonium comes from. Meanwhile, Sergeant Death is back in America. He's getting chewed out by the general. This is some really nice looking art. It kind of looks like LBJ. Now, the general doesn't believe Sergeant Death at Wonder Warthog rescued him and took care of the missiles. He's just like, oh, enough of your fantasy about this flying warthog. So he's sentenced to be executed because they think he took the plutonium. And he's like, where's Wonder Warthog? Why doesn't he rescue me now? Wonder Warthog's off at an opium den, having a good time. Now we have the question. And this is Tony Bell, Gilbert Shelton's assistant on a lot of Freak Brothers stories. Man, I really like Tony Bell when he goes solo. Like this amazingly gray-toned art. It almost looks like painted art, but just with a pencil, I guess. Maybe it is. He's using some kind of tools that I don't know about, but very sharp looking, very nice. We see these two rich guys. We see the waiter at this men's club. This is kind of an odd story. He just takes off and starts flying, floating through the air. And then these demons show up, these lizard people. The men's club turns into some kind of forest. One of the rich guys just dies and withers away to a skeleton. And then at the very end, the one remaining rich guy is just floating in some desert. So just very surreal, very odd. But really nice strip. So now we have a God Knows strip by Jaxon. And this is, early Jaxon. And this, I really like his cartooning. I mean, I love Jaxon once he developed his, historical style, you might call it, because he does lots of historical stories, but, very detailed, very realistic. But he started off drawing like this. And he's a great, funny cartoonist. I love this design of God Knows. So this is just a kind of gag strip where he goes into a health food restaurant, and they're just making fun of health food restaurants, or Jaxon is. Like all the silly things on the menu. We have powdered oat on whole wheat sandwiches, apple core turnovers, brown rice with boiled cabbage sauce. Just all this like foul sounding stuff. So God Knows is like, fuck this. I need some fast food. So he goes to the Doggy Diner, which I believe is a famous establishment in San Francisco. And they're closed. Apparently, a pig has been elected president. And his first act was to extend the vote to livestock. So now it's illegal to eat meat. And he's just like, what? No way. And then the newsboy says, even the vegetables have gotten together. And you're not allowed to eat them either. So leading dietitian concludes that to be human, you got to eat other human beings. So we see this guy chasing another guy around with a hatchet. Really interesting lettering there. I like that. And God Knows it's not like this. And then he feels something tickling his foot. And he says, oh, I know, I'll figure out a way. Something that's not quite a vegetable, not quite an animal. And so he makes this weird thing of grub worm sweat as it turns into an ideal meat substitute. It's very odd. And then these two dung beetles show up. And they say, greetings, human species. Those grub worms are just our larval stage. We're pissed because you guys have been selfishly exploiting the sweat off our brow. So now God Knows is a criminal. He's sought by Rosicrucian zealots for crimes against the astral plane. And that's the end. Wah, wah, wah. God, I love this. This is really well drawn. Here you can see the Jaxon that will come to be. You can kind of see the little precursor to it. So we got an early S.K. Wilson, a 2-page spread. The meth freaks fight the feds to the finish. I love these S.K. Wilson ones. They're so much fun. You can just look at them for like 5 minutes. Look at all the crazy details. Here we have Rory Hayes doing Change. This is complete, just psychedelic craziness. Doesn't really make any sense. But actually, it's so Rory Hayes. Cute little teddy bear, but he's a hippie. That's why he's got the beard. I like this primitive grooviness going on here. So this doesn't really... I'm not gonna. There's no plot really to describe. Look at that. That is a feverish drawing. And now we have Frank Stack doing a Jesus tale. The second coming of Jesus. So Jesus arrives, and he meets some hippies. He's preaching his gospel, and they're like, hey, you don't have to waste your breath. We're already into peace and love, man. You don't have to sell us on that. So, he says, hey, by the way, guys, I'm new around here. Could you tell me where I could get a bite to eat or a bed for the night? And these guys say, don't sweat it, man. Go up to a groovy cat and say, man, I need a hit. So he doesn't know what groovy cats look like. And so he goes up to two cops, and they start beating the crap out of him for soliciting them. They think he's soliciting them for drugs. This is pretty nice cartooning from Frank Stack. And so they give him a ticket and tell him to appear in court. And I like how he says, "Don't let us catch you wearing that beard again." But then Jesus finally is fed up, and he uses his godly powers, and he turns one of them into a pig, and I don't know, one of them into a tribble. The end. Okay, so next, the cover's falling off this comic, guys. It sucks. Okay, so this, I believe... Oh, this is really hard to believe. This is Victor Moscosco. This looks like a 14-year-old drew it. And it looks like it was just, printed, photo printed. We see the gray tone, really heavy. And this is just a little, whatever, a little silliness. And now we have another Gilbert Shelton, well, a pinup. Look how weird his art is here. Like, uglier than normal. Look at these hippies. They're kind of grotesque. And this is Scenes from the Revolution. Billy Graham reaches the dope mystics. And we see Christian televangelist Billy Graham preaching to all the hippies. And they're all loving it. They're like, pick up on that, man. Fan-fucking-tastic. Far fucking out. Out of fucking sight. They're totally grooving on the mysticism of, I guess, Christianity. Really nice drawing, too, on this one. God, the detail, man. We get another S. Clay Wilson one. And this is Ruby the Dyke and her 6 perverted sisters stomp the, I'm going to say, gays. Because these guys didn't care about offending people. A really nice one. We see a gay bar. And I don't know why they're beating up the gays. But they are. Not cool, Ruby the Dyke. Not cool at all. Guys, I'm really sorry. I think I have emphysema or something. This cough will not go away. So, but I have to make these videos or I'll have nothing in my life. So I understand if you don't want to keep listening to me cough all the time. I won't be offended. But hopefully you can put up with it. Now we have early Jay Lynch. Look at this. I would never even think this is Jay Lynch art. Poo Poo Cushman. This is very silly. Poo Poo Cushman goes to a TV studio. He blocks the TV camera. They're trying to get him off. And then his parents are at home. And they're saying, hey, fix the TV. And the mother's like, hey, that looks like the sweater I just gave Poo Poo. Because he's blocking the camera. Very dumb. And not very well drawn. So now we have a Freak Brothers strip. After Feds and Heads and maybe a few appearances in newspapers, this is one of the earliest Freak Brothers strips ever. The art's really loose compared to that Sergeant Death story. It's and compared to most Freak Brothers stories. So this is called The Freaks Pull a Heist. The Freaks once again are out of money. I notice that Franklin is reading Snatch comics, a little shout out. He says his famous line about dope, money, yada, yada, yada. So they all get high. I love this panel with the sound effects and the stars. Really just a nice graphic design. And they all blow their minds. It's a really good pot. But then Fat Freddy gets the munchies. And they got nothing in the fridge. And they got no money to buy food. And he starts wigging out. Just talking about all the food he wants to eat. Listing off all this crazy junk food. And then he really starts going crazy. And he picks up a meat cleaver and starts chasing the other Freak Brothers around down the street. So, Franklin and Phineas are like, oh, we got to do something. He's going to kill us. He's going to eat us. So he dresses up, kind of cleans himself up, tucks his hair under his hat. I'm sorry, Franklin, I should say. And he goes into this grocery store. And he says, hi, I'm Groucho Marx Jr. Have you ever heard of Candid Camera? We just want to give you a heads up. We're not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen, But we give people a heads up because we don't want them totally freaking out. So something weird is going to happen. We have our secret camera ready to film it. And Freddy runs in the door, well, breaks through the door, and just starts chopping, using his cleaver, chopping cans open, guzzling the contents, eating everything in the store. I like the lettering for this belch here. And then he passes out. Franklin and Phineas basically carry him out of there, but they load him up with all this food. They steal all this food, and they hightail it out of there. We see the shocked face of the proprietor, but it turns into a smile. And he just thinks it was like, wow, I'm going to be on TV. How exciting. And back at home, the Freak Brothers are chowing down, getting more high. And, of course, Fat Freddy's on the toilet. It probably for hours. Here we have some ads for other, well, Radical America, the Normal issues, which are pretty much about just radical politics. And, yeah, some new underground comics. This is pretty much the only underground comics that existed then, this list. And this is nice. They have contributors' photos. See, look at Rory Hayes, how cherubic he looked. So this is almost, I think almost everyone in here. Oh, yeah. No, not everyone. And we end with a Jay Lynch comic, Nard and Pat. This looks obviously more like Jay Lynch, but you can tell it's a little rough. He got a lot better just a couple years after this. Really nice logo, though. That's pretty cool. And once again, it's just a gag. That's what Nard and Pat is. And Pat, I'm sorry, I always forget who's who. Pat is the man, right? God damn it. No, it's Pat the cat. So Pat is writing pornography, and Nard comes in and says, oh, that's disgusting. Why can't you write some nice stuff? And he says, come the revolution, there'll be no more nice stuff. I thought that was kind of funny. So there you go, guys. Radical America Comics. If anyone has a second copy of this, please send it to me because the cover totally came off. I got a whole batch of underground comics about 2 months ago. It was like this haul. Some, I guess, old hippie came in and sold his undergrounds. And it's weird because all of them are like in kind of decent condition except for the cover falls off of all of them. No other pages fall out. I don't know what, maybe the spines were in some box that chafed it. So all the staples came loose. But it's very odd. None of them are cut up. None of them have water damage. They don't smell funny. But all the covers come off. Sometimes after the first reading. Sometimes they're already off as soon as I take them out of the bag. So I don't know. It's very odd. So this is another one of those. If anyone wants to contribute to the channel, I would like a better copy of this. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I just don't want the cover falling off. That's not acceptable to the Hercules Academy of Comic Book Studies. Thanks, guys, for looking at this. A really good underground. I mean, overall, it's a damn good underground. And I hope you liked it. And I hope to see you next time here at the Hercules-Petix Academy of Comic Book Studies.